There's a very sort of strange genesis to the writing of Turbulence. It really came through me getting married, meeting my father-in-law, Julian Hunt, who's one of the world's great theorists of turbulence, and talking to him about his work, he began to tell me about a man called Lewis Fry Richardson. In fact, Julian's great aunt was Richardson's wife. Richardson was a scientist who worked between the 1920s and 1950s, primarily on meteorology, but also on peace studies and all sorts of areas of what's sometimes called continuum physics, the physics of stuff that moves around. And anyway, one of the things Richardson did was invent the modern method of weather forecasting. That's to say, numerical weather forecasting, in which the physical quantities of weather are assigned numbers and values, and which can then be computed. And that's really the basis of modern weather forecasting. But the interesting thing about him was that he was really Britain's greatest weather forecaster in the wartime period, or theoretical weather forecaster anyway. But he didn't have anything to do with the most important forecast of that period, which was D-Day. He was a Quaker, and he wouldn't allow his work to be used for military means. I became very interested simply in the science of his work, but also in this D-Day forecast, the most important weather forecast certainly of modern times, and absolutely crucial to the survival of Western civilization. So I put the two things together, invented a fictional version of Richardson, and that's really where the story got going. There are two sides to Turbulence. One, the first part, largely set in Scotland in a rural area, where one man is trying to persuade another to more or less tell him the secret of weather forecasting. The second half involves a documentary depiction of the weather forecasters associated with the D-Day landings. Now, I wasn't so much interested in the landings themselves, the whole military operation, which has been written about both in historical books and in fiction and on film a lot already. But what amazed me was everybody said the weather is really important, the weather was the key to D-Day, but no one had actually looked at what the weather forecasters actually did in detail, and so that immediately attracted me as something that had potential for making a fiction of. And when I began the research for the book, I had no idea that the Americans, the British and the Norwegians, the principal people involved in the forecast, were more or less completely at loggerheads right from the word go, and that drama and tension is what, for me anyway, provided some of the excitement of the book. Henry Meadows, the narrator of Turbulence and the main character, is supposedly a very clever man, someone who's won academic prizes at Cambridge and is rising through the ranks of the Met Office when the story gets going. But emotionally, he's an idiot, he's a buffoon, and that is something that drives the narrative in a particular direction. He has visions of his own heroism. Where he came from? Well, part of him is based on individuals who were involved with the D-Day weather forecast, but not that sort of emotional clowning aspect. I think he probably came from my perception, as also happened with Nicholas Garrigan in The Last King of Scotland, that a lot of the heroes we encounter in novels, and even more so in films, are not really very much like us. Most of the time we're bumbling our way through life, trying to make the best of events as they collide with us, more or less. I wanted to depict that feeling, that sense of stumbling through life, that it seems to me a lot of fictional heroes don't really convey that. Perhaps we expect our heroes, it's in the nature of the word hero, that they should be larger than life, that they should take steps and be active and do things that we can't do, but it didn't feel real to me. So with Meadows, I've got this, I suppose you'd call him a stumbling genius.